I do probably deserve it many times over for some of the flippant behavior I've you know, shown in the romantic arena over the years. But this, again, this was a little more harsh because it was just sort of a shock to the system. It came out of nowhere.
So much to discuss, but first and foremost, how are you doing? It's been a very emotional couple of episodes, even for like fans to watch. So, like for you, how has it been watching it all back?
Well, I watched it in they before we taped the reunion, they
Right.
sort of smashed it all together and gave it to us, and that was enough for me. Like, if I dutifully watched it, and I saw what was going on, and I mean I knew what was coming, I suppose. You know, I just made a decision, and it wasn't a decision because it's how I behave and how I approach life and the show as well. Is like let it out there, just let it happen. Be completely honest about how you feel, but and if that happens, the chips fall where they may. Nobody can fault you for that. And so when things started I'm assuming you're talking about the whole Sienna
Oh,
situation.
of course, Shep.
Um, when things started to fall apart, I was in Charleston and I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, you want to take a step back? I was like, that's the exact opposite of how we were talking for the past months, like, let's do this, let's go here. Let's go to see Coldplay in Rome, and then we'll link up with my parents and brother and sister down in the Amalfi Coast. Like we were doing all this stuff, and then like that. No. And I had my theories, and they were all right. Um, so anyways.
I'm so
So yeah, I mean, all I can say is that I had my suspicions that there was somebody else, and which by the way would have been okay if she had said, like, go ahead, like it's okay, I can handle it, I'm an adult. And but she was sort of, yeah, circumspect and mealy-mouthed about how she felt, which was on a dime, much differently than maybe even you guys got to see, honestly. And that actually that's completely valid because she had come on a month prior in Charleston to the dog party, and
Mm.
when we were decided to come to the Bahamas on our cast trip, oh my God, she was so excited. She was going to talk to the tourism board, and oh my God, we hang out with my family and all this stuff. And then, no, that's not. And then a week prior, she went to some event in overseas, and then it was like, so I was like, oh, okay, I could probably guess this, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I think we just didn't see that. Obviously, you can only show so much in the episodes, but what we saw, what was I think what everyone else was like telling you, Craig was like trying to shake
Yeah.
you at one point.
Yeah.
So looking back, do you have any regrets on how you handled the situation?
No, I don't have any regrets. I was exactly how I am at all times, which is completely open. I love to lean on my friends and see. And of course, it's all heightened because the cameras and stuff. But I wouldn't have done anything differently. I can't imagine doing it differently. I am who I am. I can't change that. And I'm an open book, and I take pride in that. Maybe it's to not to my advantage sometimes, but oh well. Yeah, it sucked. And then, you hold on to this hope that like maybe it's long distance, so you think, no, maybe there's a spark that we forgot about or she forgot about. And so I was just, yeah, I was like on the ropes, like a boxer,
Yeah.
like still trying to keep my dukes up, but I was falling and stumbling all around.
You fell hard, which as like a fan that's watched this show for the past,
Yeah.
since season one, it was a different side that we've ever seen. So why do you think you fell so hard?
Yeah. Um, well, we just had there was like just super passionate relationship, and and part of it was that we were going to really cool places, beautiful places together for days at a time, and having so much fun. So there wasn't really uh like downtime moment where we just, like literally we never watched TV with our pajamas on or whatever people do.
Yeah.
Um, we never Netflixed and chilled. We were just always on the run, and it was a lot of fun. And I mean, she's extremely attractive and from a different country and has a little accent, and you're just like, it's just a lot. And I always thought I had this sort of thought that like I've never done anything conventionally, and maybe this was like the final unconventional move where like it's carve out a place for myself in the Bahamas and kind of go down that route, which would sound it still sounds a
I
lot of fun,
know. And you
frankly,
still are
so
speaking very highly of her. So obviously
yeah.
you're not, looking back on your time with.
No, I don't regret any of it. Again, like we saw we she came to Charleston, then she came to Hilton Head. We had a house part. I had a house party there, and then I went to the Bahamas. I met her sister and her mom, and we went out on boats and went to swim up bars, and it was lovely. And then she came to the mountains of North Carolina. She brought a friend. We, got to show her that, and then we went to like we went to Jackson
Right.
Hole, Palm,
You went
like
to a
all this.
lot of, it was like a very fantasy kind of relationship. Like you said, it wasn't like anything normal.
Yeah, it
But
wasn't,
Shep,
but
do,
never.
do you regret the text though? Like, it was that text that you sent in the Bahamas when
Yeah.
Austin was like cringing so hard.
I
Do you
probably
regret
should
that?
abbreviate. I should have abbreviated the text. I got a little verbose there. But the thing was, I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
When like things aren't going so hot and you can't sleep. Like I slept, I would open my eyes at 6:30 and my brain would just start swirling. And so I had to wait for the other guys to wake up so I constructed this long text. But I said what I wanted to say, I guess. I don't really care what anyone thinks about the text or if it makes them cringe. Like that's your problem. Um, you know, um, but yeah, I'm just trying to express myself. I'm a writer at heart. I should be, I'm like a bad romance novelist.
I was gonna say maybe a romance novel is like the next thing that you should be doing.
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe I'll just fine tune my craft a
Yeah.
little bit.
Maybe that. I do want your reaction though, because Taylor said, your ex said that you're getting a taste of your own medicine. What was your reaction to that?
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's absolutely valid. And I've had life isn't, I mean, if it works out for you every single time, then I don't even envy that. You know what I mean? Like this is good for me, honestly. That's how I feel. I mean, not in the moment, but after the fact, I'm like, okay, I got humbled or um cut this down to size, and that's good for you. That causes growth. So you got to be sort of zen about it in that way. I really believe that, but I don't fault Taylor for saying that, although this isn't exactly how Taylor and I's relationship ended. Like it was way different and the circumstances were different. I don't think anybody could argue that. However, I do probably deserve it many times over for some of the flippant behavior I've you know, shown in the romantic arena over the years. Um, but this was a little more harsh because it was just sort of a shock to the system. It came out of nowhere. But that happens to everyone. And so at the same time, I'm thinking like, I'm definitely not alone. And so, as a little embarrassed I was for myself before this all came out on TV, the more people I talk to, they're like, everyone can relate to what you went through. Like, don't, and it's true. And so maybe in some small way, it's connected me to some more fans or people or outsiders.
Totally. And I think that's always the best thing about reality TV is when you can relate. And yes, you're experiencing this heartbreak when you said it felt like death by paper cuts. I was like, oh my God, but I've been there. Like every single
Yeah,
person has been there. And it just took
yeah,
you a long time to get there. You never
yeah. You
really had
just
that
want to like,
heartbreak.
well, I mean, the long distance changes it, right? Because you just don't know, but you just think that I don't know. You hold out hope. You're just absolutely, and so it sucked. And I knew how excited she was for this trip, and so that was another added part of me like wanting to like I don't know, like stick up for her because we were in her hometown and we were ostensibly there to see her. So I was torn. I was very torn, and it wasn't simple, that's for sure.
You have clearly learned a lot about yourself over this relationship. So, what are you hoping your next relationship looks like?
Yeah, it's funny, like, and this is sort of a recent phenomenon, or not a phenomenon, just pattern of behavior. I just don't cultivate something that I don't have real optimism about, relationship wise, romantically. I feel like that's unfair and uncool and bad karma and all the things. And maybe in the past I maybe did do that and thought, who cares? Like I'll just make a mess and figure out how to clean it up later. And it's just not okay. And to give people to mess with people's brain or to give them false hope is just so uncool. So I really been thinking about that a lot lately, and yeah, and trying to um, live up to that.
Yeah, I think especially now that you've experienced that, it's just not nice, right? It's just
And believe when people show you who they are, believe them. You know that saying, and like don't overlook red flags because what you may or may not know is we split up, Sienna and I did halfway through our 6 month courtship
hmm,
because of a difference of like there's a couple little things that I just didn't. I was like, I don't see the world the way you do. And she was like, okay. And I was like, let's take a step back. And then after like 3, 4 weeks, we didn't talk. And she was like, sent me a couple of pictures of us together and was like, I want to see you again. I don't feel this strongly very often. And I was like, oh my God, I felt the same way. Maybe there's a way we can work through this. But the red flags, like they were there. And but I don't know, I was intoxicated, for lack
hmm.
of a better word.
You insinuated on the after show that she might have just been looking at you for your money. Do you still feel like that? Is
No, I don't think I have enough. I think that's the issue here. 100%. I know it. I mean, I was like, that was part of our argument where like, she was joking around, but made a couple of comments. I was like, okay, you understand, like, I don't have a private jet. Like, I'm not buying a $10 million mansion on a whim or maybe ever. I mean, maybe, like I don't want a $10 million mansion. I really, really don't. I'm a simple guy. I'm doing great and everything's good and everything's where it should be. I got a great family. I don't, money's not all that important to me. I know that sounds, don't want that to sound dismissive, because but it's just like not my number one consideration. I don't think about it all that often. Tiny beach bungalow, and I love it. It's like exactly where I want to be. But if I decide to do wife and kids and stuff, obviously I'll probably need a bigger space and probably a better zone with schools and things like that. But that's not the case.
Are you still hoping for that though? Because you said a couple times in this season that you were picturing it with Sienna
Yeah,
and Thomas. So are you still hoping to have that wife and kid one day?
I am. And I think part of that is just a change, a reset of your life, like, uh, which I think would be a lovely thing, especially right now in my trajectory of my life, because, I've had a lot of fun all over the world, with all sorts of interesting people. And I would love to continue to do that. But like, at a certain point it's becomes redundant, and your adventurousness becomes rote and redundant, and sort of like, oh, here we go again. So I think it would be interesting to absolutely shake everything up and do the wife and kid things. I'm not going to do it just solely for that reason, though. You
Right.
understand? Like, I'm gonna actually think about it, and but if there's someone comes along, I won't hesitate to walk down that path.
Moving past Sienna, you have Molly, who has been all season sharing that she has a serious crush on you. And I know a lot of fans are like, ooh, I can see the two of you working out.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Okay. We'll have to stay tuned because I will say, like, I could see it working. I don't know.
Cool.
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 Chev's
Keep
like, I'm
watching.
not going to give you anything because I'm not going
No, I mean, are you
to.
kidding?
Okay, then I do want to ask though, because you did just film the reunion. How did that go down? I would imagine a lot of things were brought up, a lot of drama, the whole JT of it all. So how did that go down?
It was a lot like this. It mirrored the season to my eye. And by that I mean it wasn't like a lot of fireworks, but it was some deep-seated things that needed to be said. And there wasn't a lot of yelling and screaming, but there was some like moments where I was like, ooh, like just some deep cuts basically and getting to the root of things. And I think that's a testament to us, dare I say, maturing over the past 10 seasons, 10 years, or whatever you want to call it. And we fire and brimstone and losing your temper isn't where a lot of us want to exist these days. I know I don't. I mean, I'm trying to be as serene as I can. I don't know if that equals good ratings, but what the hell?